There we go. I don't know why it started and scheduled the thing without actually popping it off.
Let's see.
But
Popping it off. Let's see. Live podcast.
There it is.
Recording.
There's those hot, nasty daddios.
Now.
Ooh, baby.
At.
I'm going to turn my other light off. Hang on.
YouTube. .com.
Oh, yeah.
/Glenn Tickle, right? YouTube.com/Glenn Tickle?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm doing it in this post in the most annoying color that I thought would bother you.
I don't know. I mean, unlike some people, I'm not bothered by color, Ricky Glore.
Oh.
Oh,
are we the part of the bad boys of comedy right now? Are we in the mothership?
See, that's the thing. That's why we're not successful, because we're not bad enough boys.
No, we're not bad enough boys. Let's see. Watch.
We need to be worse
listen.
boys.
Worse boys, but better men. You know what I'm saying? It's a hard look. That's a hard row to toe.
A hard row to toe. Especially.
Hard row to toe. Hard row to toe. You know that old French word, row to toe?
You know how people say row to toe all the time?
Row to toe. You know how people say those old timey.
Yeah. You know how that's the thing everyone says all the time?
I think that's, if we want to pinpoint it, I think it's not being funny and saying old timey sayings that nobody's ever fucking heard of.
Right. I mean, you're just saying them wrong and making new ones. That's innovative.
Wait. Hard road to toe. That's not a
hard road to hoe.
Are you sure road to toe is also not one of them?
Road to toe?
Road to toe.
You don't tow a road, my guy. You hoe a row.
But that's a hard road.
You tow things on a road.
Right.
I'm gonna have look. Hang on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm gonna do? Hang on. This is. I mean, it's gonna be in the episode, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna miss this opportunity to absolutely
my brother and
dunk
I
all over your ass. But here's the theme song. Oh wait. Here's the. I'm gonna edit this part, but all right, theme it up.
Ball back, nutsack, family jewels, we rolling up with our clappers, our slappers, our knackers, our clackers, our jaw breakers, our spunk makers, our wavos. Yeah, you know how they hang low. It's a straight up gangster, Daddio. Ball back, Daddio. Yo, Daddio. Daddio, show motherfuckers. Listen up, bitches.
So that was the rap version? Is that what that was?
I didn't get a single laugh from you.
I bopped along.
Oh man, that specifically came after our last episode where you said the funniest things to you were balls.
Well,
nuts.
Part of it was I stopped paying attention halfway through to look up.
That's why I didn't want you to play the theme then, because I knew you were overconsumed with the hard road to toe.
That's nothing. Hard road. I looked up tough road to toe, and it autocorrects to hard row to hoe. It's a hard phrase to say. I'll give you that. This is easy. Sometimes you mess things up, and it's genuinely. I'm like, how? How do you think that's correct? But this one, look, it's tricky. You know, it's hard to say a hard row to hoe. Road to toe? Do you like toe like pull or toe like it's going to hurt your little feeties because the road is so hard? What do you think?
Oh, not T-O-E. I thought it was T-O-W. Of like, it's hard to tow someone along. Like, that's going to be a hard road to tow.
It would be, I guess.
Like to go down. Like to go down that road, to tow down that road.
Well, it's tough because you gotta hoe that row, and that's hard sometimes.
You gotta hoe that row.
Look, it's hard to say things. It's hard to say things at 9 in the morning, a time you keep asking to do this.
It's when I'm at my best. I don't know why I don't do shows at 9.
Well, mainly because people are asleep.
Not me, baby. Not a daddio.
I mean, now that the past couple of weeks doing this super early have been tough on me, but now that my kids are back in school, I got to be up early anyway, and I hate it. It's my least favorite thing about parenting, is that I'm back on like an elementary school schedule, which I hated in elementary school. I hated it when I was a substitute teacher. And when I stopped subbing, I was like, oh, I'm free. I don't have to wake up at 6 a.m. anymore. Nope, I'm back on it.
When you started doming, those hours are completely different.
Yeah.
Subbing, got to get up early. Doming,
those are late nights when you're doming.
Late nights, baby.
But my older daughter recently acquired a hoverboard.
Oh, hell yeah.
She got it. She bought it for herself. She'd been saving her allowance, and then so she's been saving for months, and then got some gift cards for Christmas. So was well over the total amount for this thing. Ordered it, I think, on Christmas, and it came the other day. So she's just been...
That's fun. Ordering her own gift on Christmas Day. You could have done that with the world's greatest dad mug. You could have done it in front of everybody.
Well, a friend of mine did send me one. My friend Brian Getz sent me a world's greatest dad mug, and I threw it in the trash because that's stolen valor, baby. It doesn't count if your kids don't give it to you, or if your spouse gives it to you.
Yeah.
But like writes your kid's name with a couple backwards letters. That counts.
Yeah.
But my wife,
that's part of my joke that never works, and I always think it's funny. Is part of the world's greatest dad mug joke that we also as parents make the kid a birthday card that's supposed to be from them.
Yeah.
Clearly, we made, and like, why are we putting backwards letters? Like, if anything, do it in like script cursive, the nicest handwriting ever, or some like
hire
amazing
a
calligraphy. yeah. Hire a calligrapher with a feathered pen and some ink, and put a stamp on that. I that never works. And so, like, you just said the exact same thing. Obviously, it's something that we recognize as being funny and a joke, and that's ridiculous that we do. But like, I've said it in front of audiences that are digging the parent stuff or the kid stuff or any of the jokes leading up to it. But then every time that I've said that, it's just like shut down. I don't know why. Like, they're just like, oh, you went too far. You went too far.
I don't think it's too far. I think you're just presenting it as more of a clever observation than a joke.
Oh, than a joke?
You know?
Okay.
Like, oh, it's weird that people... And then they might nod along and be like, yeah, I guess it's weird. I mean, there's not really a punchline to it, you know?
That's true. That's more of just a comment.
They might be like, yeah, it is weird that we write kids' names backwards and stuff. My handwriting is atrocious, so I don't have to fake it. I just...
She got her hoverboard. It's in, and she's been
saving up for a while because her friend had one and she wanted it. And I forget the exact amount.
She coveted thy neighbor's
goods. Thy
friend's
friend's hoverboard.
Yeah.
And we're like, we're not going to tell you no, but also I'm not dropping $150 on.
Jesus was like, do not covet, or God or whatever. Speaking to Moses, one of the commandments.
Yeah, this was pre-Jesus.
Like, do not. Yeah, Jesus is like, hey Moses, and like, who are you? And like, you.
He's like, oh, wait, you gotta wait. You'll get it later.
Yeah. The new people will, but the old won't. Do not covet thy neighbor's hoverboard. And Moses is like, that doesn't make any sense.
What are you talking? What is a hoverboard? What are you talking about? He's like, oh, sorry.
I don't know.
I exist. I'm like Dr. Manhattan. I exist at all times at once. So,
and hoverboards, like, I've seen everything. And hoverboards are the best that you as a humanity will do.
Well, she wanted it. And again, it wasn't like, no, you're not allowed to have a hoverboard. It's like, well, we're not going to just randomly buy you a $150 hoverboard because you want one.
Well, of course it wouldn't be random because she wants it. It's not random. All random is gone.
But
like, I want that.
Also, every room in our house is at a slightly different level for reasons that have never my house was built in the 50s.
Old house too. Yes.
Yeah, so we had no say in this. But as you go room to room, you're going up. Sometimes it's like I'm in my dining room right now. To go from my dining room to a kitchen, that's like one full step because my dining room used to be a covered carport outside they closed in and added to the house. So that disparity makes sense. Our kitchen is like 2 inches above the hallway on one side and about an inch in the hallway on the other. So I'm like, there's not a lot of room for you to be hovering around where you're not going to be hitting obstacles. And she's like, well, I can go outside. I was like, well, you can, but it's going to be winter. You're going to like scoot around in the snow in 20 degrees. But we told him, like, if you save up your allowance, right? Yeah. You can. She helps out. Sometimes she'll like watch her little sister while I do virtual shows and stuff, so that they leave me alone. So then we give her a babysitting rate. $1. So it took a couple months, but she had the money. She bought it, and she's been scooting around. It's great. She picked one. She did like consumer research. She decided exactly what one she wanted. She figured out what features would be important to her. For some reason, it having a Bluetooth speaker was a necessity. And I was like, why? And she's like, well, then I can listen to music while I do it. I was like, you can do that on your phone. You just have headphones.
You can have wireless. Yeah.
I mean, that seems like a novelty you don't need to. And she's like, no, it's your dumb hoverboard. But that
how much extra was that? Is like an add-on. Like
I don't know what. Like I was not pricing them out with her. I was helping her. I was talking her through because she's like, "There's so many. I don't know what one to get." I was like, "Think about what's important to you." And she's like, "Well, I want one that has a good board. That's got like well reviewed." And I'm like, "Well, I mean, the review system on Amazon is broken. It's all going to be bots. So don't pay attention to that number." And she's like, "I want it to have a long-lasting battery so I can go very far." I was like, "Okay, I don't know where you think you're going to be hoverboarding to. You're 11. The furthest I can see you reasonably trying to go is your best friend's house, and she lives less than a mile away. So I think it's got a 4-mile range, fully charged. And I'm sure it's probably more realistically 3, but also you're not hoverboarding because it goes past a pretty major road. I was like, you're not hoverboarding down that street. You're gonna get run over by
4 miles. They're 4 mile, like the way they tested it to put that number down to get the longest number that they could. Also, probably done under conditions of a flat, straight road. Where it doesn't exerts the amount of power.
There's no hills. It's the ideal,
So probably maybe only 1.5 miles or 2 miles is probably realistically.
In theory, if she's like, I'm gonna ride to my best friend's house, it's like, give it a shot. I mean, you might be carrying a hoverboard for part of it.
You'll freeze out there, and she'll be like, "Then I'll see you in hell." And you're like, you know what?
I'd be mad, but I'm so proud.
But I'm so proud. Like you're just rolling a single tear. And then
I remember when I watched.
She just cut open a dog because she only got down the block, and she's living.
They were pretty into Empire when I showed it to them, but only the Hoth part.
Fuck yeah!
Once they got off Hoth.
Yeah.
Which I mean, to be fair,
they weren't into Dagobah, not into wet sloppy.
No, once they're in a big puddle, they're
wet sloppy, dank, humid. Because there's this mist and this steam in Dagobah. Like Yoda smells awful.
Oh, for sure.
Right. Not just that old man smell, but
right. But it's also the old man smell. It's all the things. Yeah. Dude lives in a mud hut in a swamp, and he's 900. So yeah, I don't think Yoda smells great.
I love Master Yoda. I love with him training Luke.
Hey, can I ask you a question real quick before you continue?
Yeah.
If you love him
I'm going down a hole.
If you love him so much, why don't you marry him?
Burned. I would.
You can't
because he is loyal. Well, in a galaxy far, far away.
Oh yeah, I mean, also prequels, he's dead, but also a hell of a commute. You know, long distance never works out.
I would be interested in knowing how long Luke trained. That's the only hang up with the Dagobah stuff. Right. And so there's theories that Dagobah, the time speeds up or whatever, or slow, is disconnected, that a day on Dagobah is like a year in the rest of the galaxy. That's one of the theories. Because Luke shouldn't have been able to train to be a full-on Jedi, and comes back and he's like, I learned one lesson about don't become your dad, and then still got my head cut off at the end. But I'm a Jedi now.
I hate that. Whoever's dumb theory that's dumb for a couple reasons. One, it doesn't matter.
If it were the prequels, though, we would be using that as a way to poke a hole into it. I'm just saying.
No, if you were a dickhead, you would be using it as a way to poke holes in it. Like, oh, he didn't have time to try. Like, that's, everybody did that with Rey. They're like, oh, she didn't have time. Shut up. She didn't have time to learn her magic powers fast enough. Shut up.
So that's the thing, is in the initial Star Wars, that's what always jazzed me before we got to the prequels and the midichlorians and blah blah blah. I'm not going to go down a fan hole that enough people have already tapped into.
Go in that hole.
Go in that fan hole.
Go in that fan's hole.
Only fan hole. The original movie, when they're sitting there and they're flying, and Luke's got the helmet on, and he's hitting the lasers with a lightsaber. And that scene where Han's just like, gimmicks and hokey religions, like nothing better than a blaster by your side. And Obi-Wan's just like twirling his beard. He's just like, yes, he's so young and, naive-minded Han Solo, like blah, blah, blah. I always assumed that Han, if he got Zen, anybody could access the Force. It wasn't a bloodline thing. And that's what I liked about the originals, is that it was this idea of not becoming good, not becoming bad, but becoming like understanding and more gray, as we kind of know Jedis now, having to be like good or 100% bad. That's what I liked about the original trilogy, is that I felt like anybody could become a Jedi. You just may have advantages, maybe based on biology, because Luke is born of.
I mean, but that's literally true of any skill.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
but
true of
that's
painting,
what I liked.
That's true.
What I don't like about the prequels.
Like, you could, I could learn how to be a carpenter. I'm not necessarily gonna be great at it. Or like, I can teach you to play Dr. Mario. You're not gonna beat me in Dr. Mario. My Dr. Mario midichlorian count is insane. Like, I'm just preternaturally good at this.
For all the defects that your mom gave you.
Yes, I'm so bad at
that Dr. Mario gene. Look, she worked at a pharmacy. Who knew that you were going to be
pills with a lot of problems, and I guess that
colored pills. But you know what I'm saying? It's just like, that's one of the magic of the original trilogy that I really glommed onto, is this idea that any of them could. I mean, probably except for the robots, because they don't have fucking souls.
It is funny that Han in New Hope, he's like, you're dumb, you stupid idiot Jedi religion that doesn't exist. Yeah. And then he sees time after time evidence that it's real, and
love it.
At no point in the trilogy is he like, all right, I guess religion is real now, and like he doesn't keep dumping on it, like, at no point in Jedi
until Force Awakens.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
But then it's the same thing of like the last Indiana Jones movie, because it's another Harrison Ford character who's like, I don't know, man, I've seen some stuff, and it's like, man, you saw ghosts come out of a box and killed Nazis for God. What do you mean you don't think time real?
Chronologically, we have Temple of Doom happens before Raiders.
Yeah.
So even before he saw ghosts come out of a box, he saw some magic shit with the dude's heart getting ripped out, and like the zombies and like all of that from Temple of Doom. Like, he saw some shit. And that helped him go, okay, you know what? I shouldn't steal stuff and sell it. It should be in a museum, classic line. And so that's why he is how he is in Raiders. That dude should never doubt anything.
He should be on
everybody's page.
Every conspiracy theory message board be like, "Yup, yeah, no, this one checks out. Absolutely. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Second shooter, all of it. Yeah.
Does that sound like a dumb, really simple reason? That's exactly what it is. I saw it firsthand. Yeah. There is a Mothman. There is and they're just like, this guy's crazy.
Man, this guy's nuts. He's like, no, I was there for a lot of this, actually.
I'll go back to my Yoda, but that's why I didn't have a problem with Crystal Skull in the way that people had a problem with Crystal Skull.
I have a problem with it that it's a poorly made movie. But everyone's like, there's aliens now? Again, yes. He's
shockingly poorly made. By Spielberg. Shockingly.
It's bad. It's real bad.
Going back and watching it, I was just like
aliens in it.
No. And watching it, I think it was 2 years ago. I hadn't seen it since I saw it in theaters. And I had the exact opposite of the Phantom Menace because we had gone through that. When I saw it that night, I was like, I think that might be one of the worst big budgeted things that I've ever seen next to the prequels, next to Attack of the Clones. But everybody else was just being like, oh, it's because it's aliens. That's so stupid. Right. I'm like, well, why? Why is aliens stupid? Everything ties to religion in some way in these movies. And even that does, how the aliens were worshipped.
Yeah.
Does that bug you? If there's an alien, there's not a god or I don't. I didn't understand that pushback.
Was not my problem with that movie because you're like, oh, what's the Crystal Skull? But that's
vodka.
Yeah, it's everyone. It's
Dan Aykroyd's vodka.
But no, I mean that's the reason that's Crystal Head vodka is because Dan Aykroyd loves that kind of stuff. So he knows about the Crystal Skulls and all that. And but I don't know. It's all. I mean, I don't believe in the religious stuff either. So it's I don't know. Might as well be aliens.
It's all sci-fi fantasy.
I mean, when he gets to the refrigerator to escape an atomic blast that launches him a mile away, and he just gets out, and he's like, "Ouch!" No, I mean, my guy. Look, would a refrigerator protect? We could argue whether stuff in the refrigerator would have been annihilated by radiation.
They did a Mythbusters, yes.
Being in a big metal box that gets thrown half a mile is that's gonna destroy your stupid old man body, idiot.
Yes.
Also,
because you're being shaken,
and then we got Shia LaBeouf just swinging through vines, King Louis style, with his monkey friends. Come on.
Fuck, that's one of the worst. And again, that's right around the same time of Attack of the Clones when people are just like, "Oh man, CGI, it's hard because a couple years later it's dated itself." And it's like, nope, that stuff looked awful in the theater on opening night. That looked bad.
If Indy got in the refrigerator, the blast went off, he waited and then came out, or somebody found him in there. Okay, it's the getting launched thing where I was like, you would get destroyed, my guy.
Put him in the classic tropey full body cast in the hospital, and then being released 3 months later.
I think the refrigerator thing's pretty early on, and
it's the opening scene.
From that,
there's the gopher.
From that on, with the gopher, the whole thing is like this.
Caddyshack. Yeah, it doesn't start right.
This is going to be
it starts
2
bad.
hours. And
then when
I tried rewatching it before I went to see the last one. It gave up 15 minutes in.
James Mangold, while doing the press for the Bob Dylan biopic, is talking about how his feelings were really hurt. I mean, this is dumb. He stepped into a franchise and was the only director other than Steven Spielberg. He was really hurt that Dial of Destiny was so poorly received by fans and critics.
I thought it was fine.
And I thought it was, I actually enjoyed it top to bottom. The opening, I just get a lookalike, the mask wearing and all that. It was weird because it was like The Irishman, where sometimes it was still his old man body, but with a young face. And I was just like, ugh, This looks weird.
Yeah,
but
it's the thing of like, there's shots in that where the de-aging stuff does look really good, but during those shots, what you're thinking is, oh, that de-aging tech looks really good. You're not like you're not
thinking about what they're saying or the
movie.
stories.
You're just like looking at the effect of it. And like same thing. I don't know, just get a younger actor. I understand. You did it before. I know River Phoenix is dead. Get someone else. Like
it doesn't have to be River Phoenix.
Right.
Look, I told you, don't dig up his body.
When you watch
sometimes dead
Last
is
Crusade,
better.
no one's like, who's this kid? That's not Harrison Ford. What's happening? Why doesn't he like snakes?
This kid, fuck this movie.
Like,
is he trying to steal Harrison Ford's limelight?
We all followed along. We all understood. This is young Indiana Jones. We get it.
I don't know. I'm going to need to see some Harrison in the first 10 minutes. It's why I bought the ticket.
It's, I mean, the whole thing with Here, the Zemeckis movie, it's like, I don't know.
Oh, I've heard some awful things. Blank Check podcast did a great episode. I didn't know it was a graphic novel.
I had heard that. I didn't read it. But, like, if you told me there's, like, a short film that's all one locked off camera, I'm like, oh, interesting, experiment. I don't want to watch it for 2 hours. I don't want to watch DH Tom Hanks. Just, I don't know.
I love that he was your go-to. Like, it wasn't
he's the
Robin
star
Wright
of the film.
Well, but you didn't say Robin Wright. It's a two-hander.
Okay.
No, I don't want to watch
Who's got
anyone
top billing
DH.
on here, my guy? Look at the posters. Robin Wright, Penn listed.
It's weird.
Before.
Her name is above his, but second.
Is it like so? I rearranged. Our layout today.
Sorry. I was looking at the Halloween 2 movie
you're looking
poster
at your
behind
framed
me.
Here poster because you love it so much.
Matted. Actually, it's the bus stop ad. It goes across a whole wall. Here, Donald Pleasant's name is first in Halloween 2. Jamie Lee Curtis is the line above next to it. So technically, she's above his name. But also technically she's second. And I love dumb stuff like that. Like Laverne and Shirley opening.
Yeah, that is a real a thing I don't ever like worrying about. It comes up sometimes, like if you're making show posters or whatever, where it's like, oh, I got 5 comics. Who's gonna be the whiniest if I put them last? Stuff like that.
I had a show that was local. I was might have been when I was working material for my second album, and this brewery that I've always had a good relationship with, Darkness Brewing, has a really cool back room. Even better now. That's where we filmed the music scenes, the performances, and Sweetmeats. And they've really done it up. Before it was completely redone, I hosted 2 nights of a showcase of a bunch of comics, and then I would do the audiences would change over because it was like 20 comics over 2 hours, and it was a small room. So when their friends would come up, so I had a new audience almost every 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and which it was crazy. It was very well attended. So I got to do a set at the end of kind of each rotation to work on stuff.
That sounds like the wildest way to do it. Go ahead.
Oh, I also closed. Like I closed the night, each night, to do longer stuff. But
just the thing of like the audience constantly cycling in and out. Just it's like
it was more of a party atmosphere. It was the closest to like a house show.
Okay.
Except for a house show that I've done, but it had a similar vibe where everyone was very respectful. Like no one was having like pockets. There was like beanbag chairs, upright standing tables, high tops, and just people kind of. It's a brewery, so it's a weird room anyway. But any hoodles, there's this local comic that I don't particularly like working with for a few different reasons, and mainly because multiple venues have come back to me after I've had him on a show and said, we would love to have comedy back here again. But
just not this person. Yeah, I know a couple
that
of
comedian, like specifically. And so I, stopped booking. So I'm doing this show at this brewery and not charging anything because they're helping me out. They're a great place. and the owner was just like, well, can you put so and so on the show? I know you guys don't necessarily get along, but like not like fighting animosity, just I don't care to perform with him.
Yeah, there's a couple people like that where it's like, oh, I'm not gonna put myself on a show with this person, but if I find out we're on a lineup together, I'm not gonna
I'm not
pull
gonna
myself
avoid them
off the show. Although there's a couple people where if I find out I'm on a lineup with them, I will reach out to the booker of the show and be like, hey, I don't want to be a dick or like a diva, but it's them or me. I'm not gonna be on a bill with this person.
I don't know if I may, if I really long and hard thought about it, there might be one or two people that are that, but
there's a few, and I've only, I think twice I've reached out after being put on a show, seeing one of these people, and I've reached out, and I think I've done it twice, and one time they're like, completely understand, that person, like, I didn't know, because it's to not get into specifics, like, it's for good reason. I'm not being like petty or weird. It is the one dude's a straight up criminal, and the other one
in a cool way, like the gangster rap song.
Yeah, no, he's not a smooth criminal.
Yeah.
And then the other one had like harassed a bunch of friends of mine, so it's like I'm not. Yeah,
just awesome.
I'm not gonna be on a show with this person. And the one time they're like, okay, yeah, so I didn't realize, all this stuff about them. I don't want to work with them now either. So they took that person off the show. And then another time they're like, well, we booked him before you. And I was like, again, totally understandable. I'm not, I'm not trying to like big time anybody, but I am not like, interested in performing with Tom, just to say a name. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to be on a show with them. So I'll take myself off the show. It's fine, but I don't want our pictures next to each other on a poster, because then people are going to think we're best friends and that we hug and kiss.
So filmmaking partner Nick Hines is watching the live stream, and he said, Ricky, just go ahead and name me. He is not who I'm talking about. He is not a comedian.
Oh, but see, I thought I had to your comments set to show up in OBS.
Oh, he sent me a text.
Oh, okay.
He's personalized.
He's got the main line, baby.
So we're talking about the comic who's whining that they are not where their placement is on a poster. So this venue said, can you put so and so comedian on one of the shows, even though blah blah blah. And I said, of course. I was like, I don't have it's not like I can't be in the same room with them, or you not wanting to be on a lineup at all. I'm happy to, because you're accommodating me, blah, blah, blah. So I reach out to him and I say, hey, one of these 2 nights, would you like to be on the show? And he said, yes, pick the night. And which I guess I didn't say this night or that night, but he picked the night he wanted. And he said, and I request that I am third in the lineup and not first or second. And I wanted to be like, you'll go wherever I goddamn put you.
Yeah.
I'm not going. I mean, I guess it would be petty if I did throw him up first, because that's when you're eating the most bag of dicks.
Right.
But I wasn't going to, because I also don't want to look petty. But I love that, like, the indignation of just being like, yes, I will be on your show, and this is where I demand to perform.
Your partner is in the official chat now. Welcome.
Oh, hell yeah. Nick Hines, there's our first official guest via.
Well, he said the comment was that he was trying to be respectful, not he said distrust. I think he meant disrupt the show. But I think we don't get a ton of live interaction because we do this first thing in the morning for some reason.
Now we're needy.
If we did this like in the evening when people are around, I think people would watch the lives.
When people are around, people are not around.
But I also don't want to turn this into, chatting with, engage the whole podcast being us responding to comments in the chat. But Nicholas Hines, welcome.
But we could say Glenn chatting with friends.
We could say Glorin Gen chatting with friends.
Glenn. Sorry, I
Gore
mispronounced
and
your name.
Len.
Gore and Len chatting with Len.
Flirting with
So
germs.
I'm gonna smirk. Rural juror. Yoda. I love when they don't know that he is Master Yoda. I love that period of Empire where
again,
he
that's
is
another thing that
a
gets
silly old man.
That's a thing that gets robbed of from audiences with the prequels.
Yeah.
Where, in theory, you're watching episodes 1 through 9 in numerical order. You don't get that experience. You don't even realize he doesn't know he's Yoda until he's like, "Hey, do you know Yoda?"
Yeah.
And the audience is like, "Idiot, that's Yoda." And I'm sure you know, I've seen these movies.
Audience reaction video 1980.
I'm sure there were people who realized it or knew going in. I watched them from such a young age so many times. I don't remember finding that out. But I don't. And again, it's not like I hate people complain about spoilers on stuff like that, where it's like it's not important to the story. It's just a neat surprise, like
Yeah.
because
a good
I don't know.
acting job by Yoda.
We've met a bunch of weird aliens. Here's another one. He's kind of being weird and annoying, and then he turns very serious. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's fun.
Old, much too old.
He's so old.
But I do love. I wish that wasn't a full-on act of him being just kooky and old. I wish we got to see it a little bit more.
If he was still a little bit fun after. I don't know. I mean, that dude's been through some
stuff.
Or
in the prequels.
Oh,
well, that would have been fun to see. If, in the prequels, he was very stoic, and then after, what is it, Order 86? Yeah.
Yeah, Order 66 just really messes up his stuff. And he's like, I don't know anymore, guys.
Well, and that's the way that they have to, or they feel that they have to write Yoda speak seems so forced in the prequels.
Yeah.
And prequels just fucking suck.
They're not good.
They're just not good movies. You can't make it any good. I'm curious.
Yeah, hit me.
About has there been anybody in comedy that you have watched perform and thought, man, you are really good, and then off stage you're just like, but fuck your existence?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Several. One comes to mind. I don't want to say who it is.
Okay.
Absolutely. And
but you still like their comedy after, or it then made you go, oh, you know what?
Well, there's a comic that where basically the thing is he's very conservative, and okay. I'm not. I'm liberal trash. So the fact, but he's also inarguably a good comedian, accomplished, not famous, but is. I can't be oh, he sucks as a comedian. He doesn't. He's really good at it. And it drives me crazy because he will have a joke where I'm like, I disagree intellectually with every part of this joke, but the math checks out. That's a really well done joke. And it's, I get mad about it, but it's I don't, and he's a nice enough guy. It's not oh, I hate this person. It is just fundamentally he and I disagree on pretty much everything. So other than the fact that, we have a bunch of mutual friends, we've worked together in the past where it's yeah, I mean, he's not one of the people be I will not be on a bill with this person. It is just I just don't want to name him now. It sound like I'm ragging on him.
No.
Because it is this thing of man, I disagree with you on a really basic level, but you're good at what we are both trying to do. So, game recognized game, I guess. It would be cool if you thought, healthcare was a right. But
does he have a bet about how he thinks it shouldn't be, or you just know that's his position?
No, I just know it's his political opinions are basically the opposite of mine in every way.
So interesting. I I don't know, and I guess I don't know if people are fully conservative or slash Republican, like voting for a certain party in each election, kind of political views. I don't know if I can think of any conservative comedians that I think are funny.
I mean the guy I'm talking about
Is the
but
one?
I don't want to.
No, I know, but I'm just trying to think of like big like headliner names,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that they're not. And yeah,
Well,
humor all being a matter of taste, it's,
that's a
I
big
guess,
part of
funny to
it
somebody.
is yes, like it is so subjective to what you do or don't enjoy that yeah, like I've heard so many other like left-leaning comics be like, "Oh, conservatives aren't funny. Like there's no funny conservative." I'm like, "There are because they're out there selling tickets and they have an audience. It's like just because you don't like something doesn't mean somebody
Mhm.
else doesn't like it. I mean,
You're
you can
talking about the
find
bad
it.
boys of comedy.
You're talking about the
Like,
bad boys of comedy, Glenn and Ricky,
yeah.
the OG bad boys. Um, you could like, I think like Gutfeld on Fox News
Mhm.
isn't
Yeah, yeah.
funny. Not
Yeah.
just because it's on Fox News and I disagree with him. He's not good at jokes or comedy or performing or talking. But
You know, some of the basics.
to say like, oh, every comic who's been on Gutfeld isn't funny is gonna objectively be untrue.
Or, what's his nuts who was, Huckabee.
Right.
Anybody
Also,
who's been
not
who's
funny
on yeah, but anybody who's
or a
been
good
on
person.
Huckabee,
Right. I'm
yeah,
sure he's like I know people who've done
a lot of dry
Huckabee,
bar comics.
and I
I
I can't be
yeah.
like, oh, they're all terrible. They're not all terrible. I mean, they
No, but
might be bad
I think
people.
you have, and I think I have. We've both been reached out to by Huckabee to do a set because if you're part of the dry bar
Uh,
roster,
yeah, I've gotten. Although I don't know if it was through. It was a while ago for me, and it was.
yeah, it
Uh,
was like right when pandemic stuff started opening a little bit is when I got it.
like I wasn't reached out to directly by the show, but somebody who works on the show was on a lineup with me and asked, and
Okay.
I laughed in their face. Is how I respond. Um,
I looked, I didn't know what it was, and I didn't understand like the different network, like that was still I think in the infancy, and I looked into it, and I think I sent it to my brother, and I was like, I think this is a line in the sand. I was like, I think this, I
yeah,
don't think I want to do this.
correct.
And he looked at it and he's just like, yeah, no, you're right. I'm like, okay. I was like, I just want to make sure, like, you know, a credit's a credit kind of thing, blah,
Right.
blah, blah. Like is, and I was like, no, I don't, something about this feels off and, or feels like I don't agree with participating and being aligned with this because I mean same I mean it was the same thing with dry bar, like looking into that and VidAngel and how their company was built on censoring other pieces of
Right.
art so Mormons could enjoy it. Like, uh, that was a hard one, and I ultimately obviously agreed to do that. But yeah, with Huckabee, I was just like, no.
I don't know how
I mean, like,
legitimate it is, but I
would
got
you
to
do Gutfeld?
absolutely not.
Yeah, okay.
No, absolutely. I don't know how legitimate this is. I got an email a couple months ago from somebody who claimed that they were working with Roseanne Barr to launch a new streaming
Yeah.
service.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and it's the again, no, absolutely not. I don't think I even replied because I was like, I don't know what's the funniest way to say no to this, and I got like hung up on the idea, and then just never even wrote back. But
Responded.
I forget what they called it, but even like the name of it was something gross. And
Like top clips or something. It was
no,
something
it
dumb
was like
though.
it was some like extreme right wing code word for racism or something. And I was like, oh, I hate this. Absolutely not. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, same like you said with Dry Bar. I mean, yeah, I've looked into it. Like when we talked about it initially, because you were the one who was like, "Hey,
Yeah.
why?" It was after you filmed yours, but before yours was out. You're like, "Why haven't you done a
Started
Dry Bar?"
bullying people.
And it's like,
Yeah,
well,
I've
because
started bullying people into
they never asked.
the.
Like, you don't just sign up, right? I don't know. And I was also only vaguely aware of what it was.
Yeah.
And I looked into it. I was like, oh, all right, clean comedy. Yeah, I usually work pretty clean. That's probably fine. And then it's like, oh, but why are they clean? And
Yeah.
then it's like, again, it's like I'm not religious, but I'm also not against it as an idea. It's like I'm not. I'll go do a church gig, you know.
Oh, you're against all cults,
If it
right?
depends on it, there's probably church
A
gigs
couple cults
there's a
you're
couple
cool
church
with.
gigs that I've done that I've regretted, and ones that
Yeah.
I've turned down because it's like, oh, this. I don't know if this is a church as much as it is a money laundering scheme or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I've done church gigs where it's like fine, but also when I get asked to do them, I don't lead with, "Oh, hey, I'm an atheist. All that stuff you believe. I don't believe any of that." But also
Any
like
religions
I'm not
and laser
gonna bring that
swords.
up on stage either, you know? I'm
Yeah.
not gonna get asked to do a church gig, show up and be like, "What's up, idiots? You think there's a sky daddy?" Like it's rude, is honestly like that's
half the men in the audience in the pulpit are just like, "Oh shit,
no
say
idea.
Sky Daddy again."
And
Oh, Sky Daddy.
well, it's the thing of like why I work pretty clean most of the time is I always look at it as like, especially the level that we're at in comedy. People
Yeah.
aren't coming to see me necessarily. If I do like a local show and I'm headlining it, so yeah, people are, coming to see me. Then I'm
Yeah.
more or less free to say whatever I want. But if I'm doing like a corporate event, I'm being like invited to your place of work. I'm not going to show up and be like, "What's up, idiots? Who'd you vote for, dummies?" Like, I wouldn't do that if you invited me to dinner. I'm not going to do it just because I have a microphone. But I've had the thing. You might have experienced this too, but I think I'm more vocal about politics online. So people from Dry Bar, like they see my Dry Bar, they think, "What a nice, funny young man." I will go find this kid's Instagram, and then they see my Instagram, and they're like, "Oh no," and I will get comments from people like, "I didn't realize you were like liberal trash." It's like, "Oh well, I am sorry." Like I don't know, it would have been weird to scream about it in the middle of a Dry Bar set, but yeah, and it's like if I'm coming to you, I will be polite, you know? If you're coming to me, like if you
Yeah.
book me on a show, I'm coming to you, right? I will be a nice, polite dinner guest. If you're checking out my social media page, you're coming to me. I'll say whatever I want. If you don't want to follow me on Instagram, don't follow me on Instagram, you know? But
If you like my comedy, maybe follow more of that because that seems palpable. You can drink that
yeah. Well,
well
I was
enough.
thinking last night of the thing in Steve Martin's book where he talks about his decision to not do political material.
Mhm.
And because as a guy who doesn't do a lot of political material, I think for a long time it's like, well, Steve Martin didn't do political material, so I'm not going to. But I mean, I think the real reason is I haven't thought of good political material that I like.
Yeah.
Like it mostly just bums me out and makes me sad. It's not like, oh, you know what's hilarious about the Senate? I don't know, man. It's all pretty rough. I don't know. I had an easier time
I
mining comedy out of like the death of a loved one than I do about the idea of the American government.
Sure, because there's an emotional, I think, resonance. And I think you also I'm the same way. I don't have a hot take that is this metaphor or simile or interesting story about me being directly involved with it or me observing a political action or a thing happening, except for obviously how it is in front of us, basically just on the news, on the media or whatever. That's how we interact with it, which isn't super personal. But writing for like when we did Weekend Pup Date
Yeah.
during COVID. I like writing political jokes or satirizing the news in some way.
See, that always feels like a math problem to me more than anything else.
100%. That's exactly what I'm saying is I like it for that reason. It's a Mad Lib. It's a math problem. This plus this, the cadence, the structure of a joke, trying to do it in the Weekend Update, Daily Show, pick your satirical news program, comedy news show, and doing it that way. I don't necessarily like doing it on stage because it isn't personal.
Yeah, I mean that's
I don't.
That's as good of a reason I think as I will reasonably come up with for why I don't do political stuff on stage. It's like, well, look at the rest of my stuff. It's all like personal stories. If I want to do political material, I would like run for Congress and then like do jokes about my campaign. But I also don't want to be in Congress.
Yes.
It seems boring.
Also, you are a slightly over middle-aged white man.
Yeah.
Like, for you to go up there and be like, this is what's wrong with politics, it's like, I'm pretty sure you are part of the problem, guy, because you aren't doing anything.
What it is.
Yeah. Because you also actively aren't. For you to go up there and do political material, most of the time it needs material needs a POV of you being astonished by a thing you've come across or your opinion on a thing. And is it latent with anger? Is it with confusion? And so if you're like, hey, I want to talk about politics and I'm angry about it, it's like, you're not doing anything about it. Like how, I don't know. I think obviously there are people who, not that any middle-aged white like cis comedian can't do politics. I think it's harder. I think it's harder to also, like, if you're going to talk about race, religion, or politics, it's harder to talk about those things if you are heteronormative, white, have that inherited wealth. I just went off on a whole separate thing, but yeah, I think you have to be part of a semi-marginalized group for it to resonate with an audience. Like, nothing's off limits of what a comic should talk about, but I think that's my guess would be, I know why I have a hard time.
Right, and it's not even
there being like,
I mean, there's other stuff that I don't bring up on stage just because it doesn't interest me, right? Like, the a pretty easy shorthand when you're a traveling comic is like, do a joke about the local sports team and you'll win the crowd over pretty quick. I don't know what your local sports team is. I don't want to know. I'm not looking it up.
You're not doing the math equation to come up with that Mad Lib joke.
Yeah, I don't want to figure out, okay, if I'm doing a show in Wisconsin, all right, that's the Packers, I think. All right, who's their? I don't care who their rival is. I don't want to have to do a joke about Chicago being bad. I'm not interested.
And you also don't want to do that. Like, I'm going to act like I'm interested in you so you can get to know my flavor of being like, the Packers are your guys' team. Oh man, we hate that other team, right? Everyone's like, yeah. You're like, yeah, the visitors. I've been to a bunch of games. Those visitors are the worst. They're always coming to other people's towns and like, and everyone's like, Glenn. He's like, he's telling us he doesn't know about sports, but he's still connecting with us.
Well, I do. The bit I have sometimes, if it's like there's a couple openers, if there's a lot of sports talk before I get up, basically, it happened a couple weeks ago. All the openers did like football jokes.
Interesting.
And then I get up, and then I started talking about chess.
I'm better than you in the lineup, and
I started talking about chess to absolute silence.
Next album, Glenn Tickle is better than you, and you need to do 30 minutes on chess.
No, I started talking about chess to absolute silence for about a minute to like build up the tension,
Awesome.
And then after the minute, I was like, just so you guys know, that's how I felt when you were all talking about football just now. I have no idea about it at all. I don't want to learn about it. But then I go into like the Hans Niemann thing we talked about a couple episodes ago where like everybody thinks you use the I was like, look, I know you guys think you don't care about chess. Let me just tell you this one thing, and then you will be so on board. But
I want to see that part of. Are you going to have that be part of your hour? Your new hour?
Probably not. Only because by the time I record it and come out, it's going to be like a 3-year-old story.
But so worth it because I think those are like that is perfect for chess. Of like this is the sexiest thing that's happened in chess. I don't know. I still think it's fine, but yeah, I get. It doesn't seem like one of those things to me that needs to be. I don't think there's a time limit on that because it's such the characters' names, like everything about it, just the rules of like you can't say someone cheated. Like I think there's a lot of.
It seems pretty dated, but also like I don't know. I've heard a lot about. I think sometimes people think it's a bit like how much I do actually like actively follow competitive chess, where it's like, yeah, there've been other, I mean, granted, less sensational stories since then in chess, but yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of sick of.
They're trying to catch lightning in a bottle with the butt plug thing. They're just like, oh, he was wearing jeans.
Well, that's the thing.
Is that the next thing?
More than chess, I think is doing that. So again, not to nerd out too much about chess stuff. God,
that stuff.
Yeah.
Let me get this off my chest.
A decade ago, I was writing for Geekosystem, and the Chess World Championship was going on. I forget exactly which year because my sense of time is bad, but I know it was about a decade ago because I think my older daughter was born while I was at that job.
Ecosystem sounds like a website created in like 2001 on Angel Fire.
Pretty much.
It's a great name, though.
No, it's a terrible name because it's hard to say. Like
Ecosystem.
People are listening to me say
Ecosystem.
They're like, oh, ecosystem? No, geekosystem.
That's why it's clever. Because if it was ecosystem, it wouldn't be clever.
It's a dumb name for a dumb website that doesn't exist anymore because of
R.I.P.
I ran it into the ground. But
you hire Glenn Tickle and he'll bring you down.
It was early on in that job because I was still pitching stories to the editor when I got there who wasn't there for very long. And I was like, hey, this chess tournament's going on. It's kind of a big deal. And I had to like try to explain to him. I was like, this guy's been in the world championship for a while. He's like the greatest Indian player to ever do it, Vijay Anand. And he's up against this young.
Just so you know, I picture you coming into the office in the open door frame of Perry White or like the Washington Times, like to break the Nixon Watergate scandal, and you're just like knocking on the door frame. You're like, Chief, you in? Like, look, I know this might not be nothing, but it's been popping up all over the place.
Yeah.
This chess story, and he's like, have a seat, Glenn. He's like, pitch it to me. Let's see if it.
Well, it was a little bit that where I was like, hey, the Chess World Championship's going on and they're live streaming it. For maybe that was like the first time that they were live streaming it on the internet. Yeah. So I was like, we can embed the feed and people can watch it on Geekosystem. It'll take me 5 minutes. And he's like, why would anybody want to watch that? And then I had to be like, okay, so Vijay.
We have a website for geeks and it's chess. Yeah, right. And
like,
then.
So I'm trying to like sell the game specifically. I was like, so Vijay Anand is the greatest player. He's been in the world championship for years, and he's up against this young kid, Magnus Carlsen, who if he wins will be the youngest world champion in history, and he's got a real shot. And I'm like, and he's like, okay, just don't like spend all day on it. I was like, no, it's again like a 5-minute post, and I do it.
Wait, what else do you have to do? Do you have to make the papers? No, it's a website. Like,
well, there's like what other stuff that he thought would be the priority. But the thing is, so like they change the rules change every time they do it. Basically, like for the exact format. So let's say it's a 14-game series. So every day. Well, I mean, 14 games, there's break days in between. They play a game a day.
Yeah.
Game's going to last about 5-6 hours. So
Jesus.
I was like, let me just post this. It'll take 5 minutes. I'll do it every morning. People can watch the games on Geeko System. He's like, I don't think anybody's going to want to watch chess on the internet. It blew up. It was like the most traffic we got that year was people watching the Chess World Championship. So much so that like other sites within the company were like trying to figure out ways to justify also posting this game. So there was like a sports site and they're like, all right, I guess it's sports. Sure. We'll put it up there. They got a bunch of traffic.
Did your chief make an announcement or give you your congratulations of like, man, Glenn, you know what? I didn't think there was anything here. But
yeah, to my friend Rollins' credit, when the owner of the site was like, wow, that chess thing's doing huge numbers for you guys. Rollins was like, yeah, Glenn came in and he really sold it and did a great job. Because it was, I forget where the tournament was, but like I had to wake up super early to get the link live for the start of the game. Like the last one,
some people wake up really early and they go and work with their hands.
Not me.
And like they bust their back and like they are in poor shape and work 3 jobs. You just said that in the same exact way that someone has that job of having to get up and post a link.
Well, I mean, I complained about doing this at 9 in the morning, and I was like, yeah, no, I'll wake up at 4 for chess, sure. The World Championship last month, it was, oh God, where was it? I had to wake up at I didn't wake up every day to watch it, but I wake up a lot in the night because I don't sleep well. So I would wake up and be like, oh, all right, game start. I would put it on and then go back to sleep. And then just if I wake up, check in, see what's going on. You know, I wasn't like waking up at 4 to actively watch chess, except for the couple key games. I did do that, but
yeah, dedication, hard work.
Yeah. Although of course I missed the last game, the win I missed because I had to bring my dumb kids to school. I was like, no, you're staying home today so Daddy can watch chess.
We're watching chess. You're getting educated on chess.
I keep trying to get my kids into it, and they do not care.
I think that whole story is, I think you writing the article and talking the editor in that way of like you're an old-time news editor of just like, we got to break this story. I just found out about money laundering or whatever. Like the way if you tell it like that, the way it like I heard it, and then you having to explain why this was sexy and why this is going to do well, and then you say it did end up doing well for the site, and then I think that is a story that works well unto itself. I don't know how many ha-has it has, but I think
my editor,
it's interesting.
When I was at Geeko System, he's moved on to a couple other jobs since then, but it was during, I think it was not the year of the again, there was no butt plug, but the butt plug story that year, I think it was the year before that same tournament. I think it was the Sinkfield Cup. It might have been something else, but I was watching chess and like making dinner, and I think it was the Sinkfield Cup, but it was Wesley So, who was one of the top rated players. He's great. And in the tournament, I don't remember who was playing him, and I was doing this on Twitter, and I deleted that account the day Elon Musk bought it, so I can't find it anymore. But a younger player was up against Wesley So in this tournament. Kid, the way the standings went, he had no chance of winning this tournament, right? So the smart play, you're up against one of the best players in the world. He outranks you by like 300 points. Just play for a draw, hope for the best, just get through the game. This kid was like, no, I'm going to beat him. And there were like a couple key moments where it's like, all right, the safe play is to do this. So the commentators are like, he's probably going to, I don't remember the specifics. He's like, he's probably going to castle here because then that will like, it'll be less of a sharp position. So it'll probably be a draw and he'll like get through this game. And then the kid's like, yeah, absolutely not. Why would I draw? I want to beat Wesley So. And he kept going for the win. I think he lost or it came to a draw. He did not win, but I was like live tweeting this while it's happening and explaining, here's why this is incredible. Like, please tune into just this one chess game and let me try to sell you on why chess is exciting. And my editor is like, hey, I know you're not, people are covering chess again. If you want me to like recommend you places, I was like, I do not want to do it full time, man. No. He's trying to get me back in the game. Of just covering stuff.
Just when I thought I was out.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know. I would write like a blog post about this game and why I think it's interesting, but I don't want to, do another blogging job full time. I mean, unless it pays really well. If anybody's hiring, catch that stretch.
I think, gosh, and I don't want to say it's sports or things that I don't generally generally respect, but it's why I find Blades of Glory so funny. Is like when you add all of the sensationalism and like the pettiness and like the infighting and like it's a reality show and just you heighten it so much. That's when I think it's hilarious, and that's why I think this is hilarious.
That's the ice skating Will Ferrell movie.
Chess, yeah, that even in chess, there is drama. Like there is
that Wesley So game. Like I was comparing it to Rocky, basically.
Yeah,
of like, there's no reason this kid reasonably thinks he's gonna win. He should play for a draw. He is clearly not doing that. And it was great because it wasn't like one move where it's like, oh, maybe the commentators are reading too much into it. There were like a couple in a row where it's like, oh no, this kid's still playing for a win.
Yeah.
And I thought it was
stay down, kid.
Right.
Stay down.
No, and
he's even doing one above Rocky because Rocky's just wants to go the whole match.
Yeah.
He just doesn't want to get knocked out.
Well, that's
like,
what
he
I
doesn't
like
think
about
he'll win.
My favorite chess player, Fabiano Caruana, has done that too a couple of times where it's like, yeah, he will go for the win in a way that it's where it's like, if you don't, there's a Drew, I think it's a Drew Carey joke about like commentators on bowling on TV.
Okay.
Where they're like, what are they talking about? Like, all right, he's walking up to the line. He's he's winding back. What do you think his strategy here is, Bill? Well, I think he's going to try to knock all the pins down. And it's like, yeah, that's like chess. I mean, you're like, what do you think he's going to do?
But golf is the same.
He's probably going to try to win the game, would be my guess.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of times where it's like, no, they're just trying to draw. Or sometimes if it's like a tournament or there's like team events where it's like, yeah, the smart play is, if you just fight for a draw and count on this other person to win their game because they're up against a weaker opponent. Whereas if you go for the win and you blow it, then their win gets canceled out. There's like stuff like that where it's like, that's the argument for chess being boring is like, oh, you're going to watch a 6-hour game that ends in a tie. Yeah, a lot of the times that's exactly what I'm going to do. So
my only chess knowledge comes from there's an episode of The West Wing that they redid for the Biden when he won against Trump in 2020. They redid it as like a live recording on a stage and did it like a play where Jed Bartlett is going around and he's playing like 3 different chess games at once. One's against Rob Lowe, one's against Leo McGarry, I think, and one's against somebody, or maybe Toby or whatever, against Toby. But anyway, they're in 3 different places, and he talks about like the Fibonacci sequence and like different ways to play, like how you can move and stuff, and blah 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 blah. The only other thing I know about chess, and this is just going to show how stupid I am, and Glenn is better, is for a student-written play in college. Called 1,000 Miles Burning, which was originally titled Letters from God, because all of these people were in limbo and getting letters from God to figure out how they could make the right choice. Oh, it was arduous play, and the fact that my dad and my brother think that was the best my acting ever was, I don't think is a compliment. But in that show, my character was a college professor. Again, student-written show in college. And he is questioning his sexuality, but he does it while playing chess games against his students. And I, instead of learning how to play chess, because I'm an idiot, asked to memorize moves. And that's how we did it. every performance, because it's like happens 3 times throughout the show. It's the thing they go back to, is the professor playing chess against one of his students, who he may or may have not done gay things with or inappropriate things with. But yes, that is my knowledge of chess. So I love listening to chess to be talked about as passionately from someone as someone would for football.
Well, I mean,
did the audience laugh when you said this is what it felt like?
It's
to listen to you guys.
That usually gets a laugh, and then when I do the cheating story, that has been a real mixed bag. Where so the joke version of that is, I'd be like, look, I know you guys think chess is boring. I just want to tell you one thing that happened to prove that chess is great. And then I tell them, like, so there's this guy, he got accused of cheating, right? Ooh, scandalous. But here's how he got accused of cheating. And then I explained the butt plug thing. I was like, see, now chess is interesting. And like, some of you are like, I forget how I worded the line, where it's like, oh, I know you, some of you have been practicing for chess at home. Some of you might be practicing for chess right now. And that's one where it's like, to me that's very funny, but like audience is probably about 50-50. Plus it's like, that's the arguably dirtiest joke in my set on any given night. So it is weird to be like, stop talking about butt stuff. But no. It's the other thing I'm very passionate about. So
butt stuff and chess.
But we talked about the jeans thing last time, of like everyone brought me that story of like, oh, did you hear about this? Yes, I heard about this. I don't remember where in the timeline from recording that, but the follow up to that story is Fide backed down. So he showed up in jeans. They're like, hey, change. I think I said last time that he showed up in a different pair of jeans, but that is apparently not correct. That was misreported somewhere. But they're like, all right, well, then you have to forfeit this game. And he's like, well, then I'm just going to leave the tournament. And they're like, well, then you can't play in the next one. It was like a real taking their ball and go home. They backed down. They're like, all right, you can play in the Blitz. And he's like, I'm going to show up dressed like Jay Leno. He had jeans and like a denim-looking blue shirt.
Did he really?
Yeah, because they backed down.
He's a bad boy. He's a bad boy of chess.
The good bad boy of chess. I would say Hans Niemann's the bad boy of chess. He's the one.
Well, his name's Hans.
Everyone's like, well, you're clearly the villain now. But
Hans, booby.
So FIDE is the organization that is in charge of chess globally. And then there's like national chess federations in different countries. But for whatever, like the past couple of years, like Magnus Carlsen like chose not to defend his FIDE world champion title. And it seems like either that, I don't know if it's because of that or that was the first result of his beef with FIDE. So they just have like petty fights every once in a while. And the problem is I think they need him more than he needs them at this point. But neither of them really needs each other. Like he can stop playing FIDE events and they would both just go about their day. But he instead will show up and like break the dress code on purpose. And FIDE back down. Like, all right, I guess the dress code's a little arcane. We'll update it, with some modern sensibilities. You can wear nice jeans. And it's like, well, yeah, because it's dumb to make people play in suits.
But they gotta be nice jeans, and we get to judge you if they're nice jeans.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And a couple people I heard defending the dress code. They're like, well, because it used to be like people would show up and they would just be like in, crumpled, smelly clothes, and it'd be really distracting to play. It's like, all right, then put like a stink rule in place. I don't know, like the fact that you can't wear jeans. And my kids go to school. They have a dress code, and they have a uniform.
They have a stink code.
They have a stink code. They have a uniform that they wear, and they both like their school uniform. That's not the issue. But there's stuff like they can't paint their nails. My 6-year-old was like, why can't I paint my nails? Like, because that's the rule. And she's like, but I want to paint my nails. Like, let's do it. I will have that fight. Yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
Ready.
And my daughters haven't committed to it, but they're like, oh, it'd be cool if I could like dye my hair pink. I was like, well, it's against your school's dress code. You can't have pink hair. I also think you would look cool with pink hair. If you want to dye your hair pink, I will have that argument with your principal.
Mm-hmm.
And we might not win, but like, yeah, I got time for that fight, baby girl. Let's do it. And so I was talking about the jeans thing with them, and my older daughter came down on the side of Fide. She's like, he should not be breaking the rules. And then my younger daughter's like, yeah, that's a dumb rule. Why can't he wear what pants he wants? It's like, right, exactly. He should wear whatever you want. And so yeah, neither of my children are really up for a fight with their school about dress code. But
it's an interesting, well, because they also then probably have a good understanding of then how they will be perceived as being this problem or this rule
be a
breaker.
Problem, little girls, do it.
And a magnifying glass, but that's also not great to then have that feeling. You'd rather be a little spy and work from within and disrupt.
Well, part of it is my older daughter is the one who is just like a straight up rules follower, which there's worse things to be, I guess. But I was talking to them about the jeans thing specifically.
Or she just hasn't met the rule that she's willing to go against. Like we were talking about, like you don't want to run for public office, like to if you're part of a system and you subscribe to it and the rule is this and you don't agree with it, sure, you can buck it, but you probably should leave the system too if you ultimately don't agree with it because you're part of a system or an entity, a corporation that you don't believe in something that they think it's a rule. Like you got to follow all the rules. You can't pick and choose which ones, but you're also not willing to then politically like go to the school board and be like, look, we're not going to break this,
right.
but we think we need to do some amending to these.
Like, I will go to the school board meeting and be like, hey, it's time to update this, dummies. Like, let kids wear nail polish.
Right.
But I'm not going to do
it. You have them break it first and then go to the school board.
That's
so then ask for permission. Yeah, but I think you could go to the school board and say, my problem is that these rules are stupid.
See, I mean, basically the system in place is you gotta start with breaking the rule. Like that's because you need a case to argue. It can't just be theoretical. You can't go to a judge.
You can make it amendments.
You can't go to a judge and be like, hey, I think we should be able to jaywalk. And he's like, that's not what I do, man. I review cases. So then you jaywalk till you get caught and they're like, all right, hey, it's dumb that I got arrested for this thing that should be legal. And then they're like, all right, man. And then you appeal it and then you take it all the way to the Supreme Court and they're like, yeah, man, I don't know, jaywalk if you want.
Like when there's laws, you got to be a way. There has to be a way to repeal laws that are archaic.
But it's boring. So you got to do the way that gets attention because that's how you get support.
Like Kentucky laughable law is you can't have an ice cream cone in your back pocket on Sunday.
Yeah.
And that's because horse thieves used to put an ice cream cone in the back pocket on Sundays while people were in church, and if their horse wasn't properly tied, the horse could break free and then follow that horse thief home. And it's like, now I got a horse. I didn't steal it. It chose me.
Yeah.
Has to be a way to repeal that without doing it and hoping that a cop will arrest you for.
I mean, I think this is a pretty fundamental difference in how we approach the world, friend.
No, I know. No, that's why I think it's fascinating.
But
again, I think you've already explained your position. You are not going to, and neither am I. But it's interesting where we fall on. I'm
trying to think
how
of
you make change
a real
happen.
World example where it's like, here's a rule I disagree with. I could run for office, try to get this repealed, or
your wife did it. Chickens. Yeah. The number of chickens you can have. There it is.
Right, and that was a long, arduous process, but a way. I mean, it's just a fact of the matter of like a way to build support for change like that is to get public attention, and the way to do that is break the unjust rule, and then people be like, yeah, you know what? That's a good point. Glenn
stupid. I feel bad for you.
Glenn should be able to jaywalk. And then when I'm on trial for jaywalking, then there's supporters being like, let Glenn cross the street however he wants.
I want to do it naked. Enforce the law.
Yeah, let Glenn get his nuts out. Actually, no. You know what?
No.
Let him cross the street. But he does.
Wait.
He's got to cover up.
Let me see him do it once. Let me see how I feel about it. You know what?
What's he working with? He talks about it being big a lot, but is it?
I don't like it.
Well,
he's only halfway through.
Yeah.
Don't give him the full sentence. Give him half. You know what?
I
thought it was going to be
day, so it's okay.
I thought it would be a 6-year sentence. It was more like a 3-year sentence. So.
Yeah, he was measuring that sentence. I don't know where he was starting, but that was not a 6-year sentence at all.
Was that a centimeters? What?
Well, that's
I think
I'm trying to think
where
of how we relate this to comedy. You know,
in our sensibilities of comedy,
just in comedy in general, where there's like, these rules of comedy of. Do people in your local scene argue about wearing shorts on stage? Is that a thing that comes up weirdly in Facebook groups? Because it was a thing here.
Oh, I don't. I left that Facebook group. My local scene.
I'm in local comedy Facebook groups for places I've never been and will likely never go. But I
am too, but not for my local. I have for when I've gone and done shows elsewhere.
Yeah, that's what
I'm like, hey, give me some clips from this group if anybody blah 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 or knows anybody to fill up a showcase somewhere else. But I'm not in my local scenes group. I'm in Wisconsin, but
I'm in one of my local scenes Facebook groups. There's another one that I'm not in, and then I got at a open mic weeks ago. One of the newer comics was like, "Oh, are you in the group chat?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "I can add you." I was like, "Please don't." Absolutely not.
Has anybody wanted to be part of a very long group chat?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm in. I have like one text group chat that I'm in. That I genuinely really like being a part of. And I'm not super looking for more. You know. I'm in a family thread. And, every time there's like family news, it's like, great. That is a useful part of my life that my parents and siblings and, sisters-in-law are all, they don't
abuse it.
I can quickly blast
they use it the way it
information.
should.
Yeah. But we're not in there, it's not 50 texts a day from family members, but,
no D's nuts or Bofa jokes.
Yeah. I don't like people having my phone number. Especially a lot of people in my local comedy scene. I specifically don't want to have my phone number.
Yeah.
And it's like being on a reply all thread about a thing you don't care about, where it's like, look, I'm going to next week, I start hosting the open mic at Steel Stacks. A decision I did regret immediately upon agreeing to do it. Because it's been a while since I've hosted an open mic, but the reason I'm doing it is I don't think I'm good at hosting stuff, and the whole reason you go to open mics is to work on the parts of comedy that you need to work on. Maybe it's a new joke, maybe it's just getting comfortable on stage, so you're just trying to get the hours in. The thing I need to work at is, all the dumb host stuff of like, whose birthday is it? I hate all that specifically, but kind of the in the moment stuff of hosting. Last December, the corporate shows I was doing a couple times where it's like, oh, if I just stopped doing material and talked to these people as people,
they might like it more.
This might be going better, but I can't. I just couldn't.
But it's not always true though.
It might
Sometimes
not have been,
they look
but
at you like deer in headlights.
I couldn't even,
you didn't even have that.
Do it.
But did you? I mean, we talked about this where you're like, you looked at open mic or you looked at MC spot and you're like, nope, and you just got better at the next spot,
like a trap.
Which is feature. It seemed like a trap. Do you feel it is beneath you and the time that you want to spend on the comedy that you're presenting?
No.
Where in the formats of an MC, they're listening to maybe
I don't regret
minutes.
agreeing to do this because I feel hosting is beneath me. it is. I regret committing to being in the same place anytime at
weekly.
Then it feels like a job, you know. But it is mostly the thing I regretted about it was like, now I actually have to like commit to trying to get better at this thing.
Because otherwise, this is gonna be wasted time, and I'm gonna hate doing this. So I better.
So I'm sure it will come across to some people as like, oh, Glenn doesn't want to be here because he thinks he's better than this. No,
which is right.
I go to that open.
Which I mean,
I go to that open mic, but I go to that open mic sometimes. You know, like I'm not there every week. It's not every week. It's every other and then like the schedule on this thing is insane. So they do it.
Does that bug you? That bugs you too?
The period of time that I've committed to doing, it's like 3 months, and for that schedule, it is every other week. But other times, it's like, oh, we're gonna do the first and third Tuesday, but then there's another event this time. So this month, it's gonna be the first and fourth. It's like, just do it every week. Just do it every week at the same time. Just have it be every Tuesday at 7:30 is when the open mic is. Because when you start doing every other, and so then people stop coming because no one can pay attention to when it is, or at least I can't. Like that's the main reason I'm not there more is because I don't know when it is happening.
They're not for profit, right? So
yeah, it's a nonprofit. Yeah. It's a whole thing. But like I said, I don't regret agreeing to host an open mic because I think I'm better than hosting an open mic. It is because I don't want to have to work on myself, Ricky Glore. I don't like acknowledging that I have flaws, and I don't like putting effort into improving on those flaws. So after later today, I'm going to be meeting with my co-host, a woman who took
me,
not co-host of Daddio, co-host
sorry.
of this open mic. So the system.
Are you going to tell her about Daddio?
To
get good at comedy, she should listen to Daddio.
Okay. The system in place at the Steel Stacks open mic is there is an established comic co-hosting with a newer comic, ostensibly to like have like a mentor program to have the more established comic give like hosting tips and help the newer comic get some hosting experience. I've hosted open mics in the past. It's not like I don't have hosting experience. I just don't like doing it, and I don't think I'm good at it. She will be a better host at this thing than I will.
It's going to be a two-hander. You guys are going to be on stage at the same time?
Basically going to switch halfway, you know? Like, I'll do the first half, I'll bring her up, she'll do a set, and then host the rest of the night.
Okay. So she's not getting
we're not on
the complete experience.
We're not Abbott and
Costello.
Because
she's not going up first. Right, but she's also not going to be the first one on stage any of the nights, or maybe after a couple weeks she will be.
It'll be me and then switch. But the last couple, I'll probably make her go first because that's the part that sucks the most, honestly.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Is like to get that full on training.
Yeah.
I did a gimmick, or I've been host. It's the only show that I book, like that I host. There may be another one that comes up at a location nearby, but I've been hosting, been booking a monthly show up in Westfield, Indiana, not far from Indianapolis, at a place called Urban Apples Cidery. Been doing it since August. It's sold out every show. It's a small back room. It's intimate. It has a bar back there that next to the kitchen. It's a barn, but the acoustics are really good.
Is this the one has a great? You just had Brian Atkinson do?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got a great vibe. The audiences are strangely different each time, which is kind of fun and interesting. They're not just like locked into a specific kind of comedian. Like Brian did very well, and is very clean. But then like Billy DeVore headlined a couple months ago, and not as clean because there's no restrictions, and did just as well. But this past one, I've been emceeing because I headlined the first one in August, but I've been stretching that MC muscle, and this is way too gimmicky for the MC slot, but I came up with this ridiculous red turtleneck that I had gotten for our family photos.
Sure.
and I said, sorry, before I start tonight, I have to wear this turtleneck because I lost a bet on Christmas. And I had a couple of callbacks and some newer bits that I was doing that I knew I could lace through that
Yeah.
for there to be a reveal of what the bet was at the end. And it was more of an exercise for myself. And I only did about 16 minutes. And it actually worked. Now, it wasn't something that I'm like, "Ooh, I'm gonna do this every time. I'm gonna Rory Scovel just plant something that I have to work with on its feet in the moment every time, and I'm
Yeah.
not gonna bring up a turtleneck and play the same bit every time." But I did like having that extra thing that I kind of, as a touchstone, went back to that connected a narrative structure through even an MC opening set, while also not feeling like I screwed Stacey Corwin, who is the feature. First time I met her, but I guess we met through Joel Byers when he used to do the writing prompts during COVID on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Brian and I have never actually met, but we interact a lot online. Where it's like, oh yeah, like he came out my way a couple months ago, and he posted. He's like, hey, I'm going to be in Pennsylvania for this gig. If anybody knows any shows, the night before or after. So I was trying to get him some spots, and I was like, oh, I was going to go to one, but ended up, I don't remember why, couldn't make it. But it's like, yeah, he's
Super
just
nice
a guy.
guy.
He's just a guy I know from online.
And he listened to Daddio.
I
I
know.
think he is someone who has looked at putting together a dry bar, but him and a few other people, like Zach Wycuff was one of them, who for years I've just been like, submit to dry bar, here it is. He's like, I don't know if it's ready, I don't know if I got the clip that I feel good with. I'm like, they don't care. I was like, unless
they care if
your
it's
clip
clean.
is,
That's
yeah,
for better
like if
or
it's
worse, the main thing they're looking for.
is clean. And Brian, and then Zach Wycuff has since and recorded his special and it's out. A couple other people as well, but Brian, he's like, yeah, I was listening to you and Glenn talk about dry bar, and he's like, I was like, oh, have you? When is yours coming out? Or have you done one? And he's just like, no. He's like, I'm still working on putting together the best clip to submit. And I was like, man, just submit, just send a tape.
Just
Like,
do it. Do it,
I'm like,
Brian.
it's not about if, it's about when.
Well,
and when you email them, and if they're like, yeah, we're casting right now, or email us in 3 months.
I just did a show the other night at Pizza Town, USA, here in
I saw
New Jersey.
Yeah.
And it's just an open mic at a pizza place that Jonathan, the guy who runs it, again, local, I'm in a New Jersey comedy Facebook group. He posted it. He's like, hey, if anybody wants a spot, I have, this weekly mic at a pizza restaurant.
And you're like, I love pizza.
I do love pizza. And honestly, I mean, the other thing I'm trying to do more of is like perform in New Jersey, like do local shows. Because I don't a lot. I do shows in the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania, because that's where I started. But like, I very rarely actually perform in New Jersey, and when I do, it is like corporate gigs. So again, it's like I don't post about most of the shows that I do because there's no point, because you, the audience, can't come to them. So I'm trying to just meet other Jersey comics, do some more local stuff. It's like, oh yeah, I like pizza. I've got that night free. I'll go do this show. But Jonathan, the guy who runs it, was like making such a big deal about me being there, to the point where like one of the other comics was like making fun of him for like kissing my ass so hard. And I was like, right? It is weird. You do not need to do this. It
was that Florida show at that circus bar.
Yeah.
Remember, they kept on being like, your headline. I'm like, this is weird. And then he didn't remember your name.
Right. It's
when
like,
he brought you up.
He's like, why do you want to come do this show? I was like, because I'm also a comedian who lives in New Jersey. Like
and I need to work.
There's no reason for me to not come. And he's like, oh, because it's just a mic. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't pay you. I was like, I have the night free. I want to eat pizza and tell jokes. What are you talking about? And it was
pizza?
It was a fun show, and it's a small like pizza place So it's not like there wasn't a back room. It's just people are coming in, ordering pizza. There just happens to be comedy going on. Some people stick around a little bit. Some people see there's comedy and turn around and leave immediately. It was a lot of fun. But I met a lot of the other comics, and I was talking to some of them, and like, oh, like how, I've thought about, submitting for Dry Bar. I was like, I'll give you the guy's email. I don't know if he's going to email you back, but I will. And they're like, really? I was like, yeah, I asked them a while ago, because I'm sure you get asked too by a lot of people. They're like, oh, how do you like get Dry Bar? I was like, you emailed Keith. Like that's, so I asked my point of contact. I was like, hey, I get asked all the time by other comics how to submit. And like, I don't want to just give this guy's email address out, willy nilly. Is there like an official response you would like me to give them? And they're like, no, yeah, give them his email. Tell them to send the 20-minute set that they want to film to Keith, and that's step number 1. And I was like, got it. That's what I'll tell people. So when people are like, oh, I'm thinking about it, I was like, yeah, it's this email address. And they're like, should I tell? And I tell them the same thing that you told me, which is like, I don't know if using my name will help. And again, if I'm giving you someone's email address, it's because I'm fine with them knowing I'm the one who gave it to you. You know? If I don't want someone to know that you found out about something from me, I'm just not going to tell you what it is. And they're pretty open. Like just to be clear, the email is on their website. The Booker's email is there. It's knowable information. So Dry Bar aside, let's say I'm did a club somewhere, and a comic who maybe I don't think is ready to do that room.
Who books that? Who books it?
Who books Chuckletown? I'd be like, oh, they're pretty tight about how they handle submissions, but I'll just say something to like deflect. Where if you're like, who books Pizza Town USA? Like, oh, Jonathan, here's his Instagram. Just DM him. He'll get John. But it is the thing of like,
Town's hard to get into. You got to go through an audition process.
It's the whole idea of like gatekeeping, where it's just like, I'm more than happy to share information with other comics. Sometimes I do genuinely think you're not ready for, and I don't mean you specifically. I'm using like the royal.
No, it's me. Yeah,
I might not think you're ready for the opportunity you're asking my help for, or like doing colleges. To do APCA or a NACA is expensive. It costs a lot of money. So there are a lot of comics that know that I do them. Is like, hey, like I'm thinking about submitting, to APCA, and I was like, do you have $2,500 to throw into a fire? Because if not, you shouldn't do it. And that's not saying every time you do the idea is you spend money to be on this showcase. If it goes well and colleges book you, it's been well worth your time and money. If you don't get booked, you've wasted a lot of money. So there's comics where it's like, I don't want to help you do this because I don't think you're going to get booked, and then I'm going to feel bad. But I've been helping a friend of mine. Like when you reached out, I was like, yeah, this is my college agent. I'll tell him you're going to send him an email with a clip. Because I think you're good at comedy. You work pretty clean. I think colleges would book you. But then there's comics who are not clean, who I don't think colleges would book. And I don't think APCA would go for. And it's like, yeah, I don't want to hold your hand through this process that I think is just going to end up being really disappointing and expensive for you.
It's parenting, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to steer your child into what you have recognized. It's the hoverboard. Buy the hoverboard if you want to save up for it.
This was the thing where it's like,
we're not buying the hoverboard
I don't know, but it's, there's stuff that I saved up for as a kid that my parents are like,
Millennium Falcon, $50 from the first job I had umpiring when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
10 years old.
Again,
I was umpiring for 9-year-olds.
I bought the Star Wars VHS box set when it came out. And I don't know, $80, whatever it cost at the time, saved up. And they're like, I mean, we have these taped off TV. I was like, I know, but this has a 10-minute interview by George Lucas before or after the movie, probably. And they're like, all right, man, I guess. And we're not going to tell you can't do this. And I don't know. I had those tapes until a Tire Center's VCR 8 Jedi when I was waiting with a friend. Yeah. Oh, I was furious.
Can't even imagine how you lost it.
Yeah.
This Tire Center owes us 4 tires on the house for this atrocity.
It was the original cut. It wasn't special edition nonsense. It was the original cut.
Wasn't that gold? Yeah, the gold box. Before we get going, because we got to wrap it up, I did want to share, because you mentioned about your daughters and their schooling and hoverboard. Anna wrote a joke with my help a little bit, New Year's Eve night when we were coming back. New Year's Eve, quick lead up to it was my wife found a brewery that was doing a dance party and they had pizza and blah, blah, blah. And didn't dawn on her, and I didn't remember that stuff like that when they involve kids for New Year's Eve is going to be fucking nuts. It's going to be balls to the wall. And it wasn't until we got there and we saw how crazy it was. I remembered my dad saying when I was a kid, hadn't thought about this in years, don't do anything on New Year's Eve night unless you have a reservation.
Okay.
And so we didn't. It was crazy. We got the twins out. We had Nana. We had Anna. There's going to be a dance party. There's balloons. And there's so many kids. It's freezing cold. The babies are crying. We can't order pizza. There's an hour and a half wait.
Sounds like a nightmare.
So
I go ahead.
You went to Peeps, right?
Yeah.
You did Peeps.
We had tickets. We had a reservation, it wasn't our first time. We've been there, I think, every year for like 4 years. No, we didn't go last year because it sold out. We didn't get tickets in time. It is a nightmare. It is an event seemingly designed to stress me out specifically. It is
and eat time, but not. Right, it's a time filler. So many things are just time fillers.
Well, the thing is, there's not enough going on. They added more than last year, or maybe we did get to. I don't remember. There's an outdoor ice skating rink is part of Steel Stacks now. They've been doing that for the past couple of years, so they tied that into Peeps Fest, so you can get your Peeps Fest ticket and you can add on ice skating. I would
watch kids eat it. Yeah.
If I put skates on and fall down, I'm staying down. So I told my wife,
stay down, Glenn. Stay down.
My back is always my again, the autoimmune disease I keep talking about has been bad for a while. So months ago when I was like, all right, tickets are available. We don't want to have to tell the kids they sold out again. So buy them in August. Whenever we can get them, get them. But we were like coordinating with my kids' friends and be like, all right, this is the slot that we're getting ice skating tickets for because it's timed.
Get this, get this time.
But
get
this
this
was
slot.
weeks.
Jenny,
yeah.
Order your tickets.
This was weeks and weeks ago. And I told my wife, I was like, I will not be available for ice skating. And so she got one for her and the kids. My youngest daughter backed out of ice skating on the day. And I was like, that's fine. That's one of the reasons I didn't want to do it. So she and I walked around. I thought I turned the thumbs up thing off. But she and I walked around, but it's so crowded and there's not enough stuff. So there's huge lines for everything. Because there's
wait in lines?
1,000 people and 5 activities. So you have 200 people in line per activity. Kind of a nightmare. There's loud dance music going. It's cold. So my younger daughter, when she shows up and there's a lot of people, kind of like shuts down a little bit. And so do I. So we're just like not having a good time. We're walking around. I'm trying to make the best of it for her. And I was like, oh, do you want to go do this? She's like, no. I'm like, you want to go get a snack? She's like, not really. Do you want to go, I don't know, walk over there where there's fewer people? She's like, hell yeah. So we just like stood.
And you're like, when is this done?
Yeah, we just stood in like a less busy part of the event for a while.
And just ripped on people?
Well, you get there and like they give you Peeps. There's like food stands. So there's like a donut place that didn't have too long of a line. So it's like, let's go get a donut and we'll go sit down in a less crowded area will eat a donut. And but they give you like a scavenger hunt card thing where like you go to all the different activities, somebody initials it, and then you get like a bigger prize. Younger kid not interested in that. Older kid was, but went ice skating, and that ate up a big chunk of time. So she didn't have time to go around to everything. So then it was like annoyed. And I was like, yeah, I mean, we got here a little late because there was an accident. So there was traffic. And then we had to wait for her friends. And then once the friends got there, everyone's just standing around chatting for 20 minutes. And I didn't want to be the guy who's like, God, we have to get this done. Go. But it's
Stop
like,
having fun.
I'm like, yeah, you guys, all right. So you guys got here pretty late. So, you know, ice skating starts in about 45 minutes. There's big lines for everything. So like maybe we have this discussion in line for the next dumb activity that we're trying to do.
20 minutes.
I'm like trying to push everybody along. But I'm like, I don't want to be here is essentially what it is. But it's
hard because you want to help them with their time management and may have them have as much fun in the amount of time that is allotted. And you're right, you're being practical. You can have the 20-minute conversation for the 40 minutes you're going to have to be in line to ice skate. But it's that hard angel and devil fight where you're just like, am I being agitated and I'm trying to keep people on track because I also just don't want to be here.
Right. It's like and my kids know that like daddy doesn't like it when there's a lot of people around either. I mean, neither of my kids do. They don't love a crowd.
Yeah.
But my older daughter will
only
get
psychopaths like
if
crowds.
You get like the scavenger hunt thing. Like I do a joke about when I took my older daughter to the Pez Museum, where like they give you you have to find all the presidential Pez's that are around the place. The Pez Museum, it's a great way to kill about 15 minutes or 90 if you're there with my kid. Or the chess museum, when I brought her there, I'm like, hey, I know you don't really care about chess, but like, you know, it's daddy's first time in St. Louis. I want to, you know, check it out. We can just
He wants this.
We can just go real quick through, but they gave her a scavenger hunt and she's like, well, yeah, obviously I'm locked into this now. So, the peep set, she's like, yeah, I want to do all the events that are available. But they know I don't love it. They know it's not my favorite day of the year to go be in a big crowded place, or even like when we go to theme parks and stuff, they know that like daddy's not necessarily having a good time. But I want them to have a good time. So I don't want me being miserable to be a problem for everyone. So I will like try to go along with everything.
And a scissors and glue stick.
Okay.
We have a special guest on the program.
Upstairs.
Looking for scissors and glue sticks.
Scissors and glue sticks.
Constant search in the house. And tape. Does your kid go through tape at an alarming rate?
Was going towards the tape game, but then luckily I think we kind of squashed that. Probably will come back to tape because she was taping things everywhere and we're just like, no. You cannot tape
My kids burn
on this
through
wall
tape.
and rip off
it's
paint.
Insane. Yeah, but
so yes,
I don't the thought. Like my kids are aware of Disney World now, and they keep asking to go, but I cannot imagine a place I want to be less. Where it's crowded and expensive, and you're just waiting in lines, and none of it seems appealing to me. But again, like I don't want that to be the reason they don't go. Like I will go. I would go and suffer through.
You don't want to pass on your, anxiety or misgivings of a thing to be like, you should also feel the same way.
Right. Or
you want them to enjoy it.
Just because you think you might not like something isn't necessarily a reason not to do it,
Right.
But
so
I'm 41. I've been to a lot of places. I know what I do and don't like, but like you're 6, try it out,
Yeah. Try a new flavor. But so luckily, all of us collectively, we pull the plug on it. My wife's like, yep, this didn't turn out the way I would want it to be. It's cold, it's rainy, blah, blah, blah. We got to go. We just pulled the plug on it real quick. Got back in the van, which is hard. And then we agreed. I was like, hey, how about we pick up McDonald's and we make popcorn tonight and blah, blah, blah. And Anna was great about it, was able to refocus. And so her and I went and grabbed McDonald's. And on the way back, can't remember what started the joke, but we were saying good news, bad news. and it kind of saying stuff back and forth from the front seat, me driving and her in the back seat. We just fell into a rhythm of like just these absurd good news, bad news. Some of the good news is being bad as well, but the bad news being worse. And she said, "Good news, I did not poop my pants." And I said, "Bad news?" And she said, "Bad news, I'm wearing your pants."
I was like, if you pause it and ask me to guess the punchline, I would have said, "I pooped your pants." I think it's cleaner, not to punch up your kid's work, but I think,
I pooped in your pants. Yeah. Bad news, I pooped in your pants. Yes. Yes, because that's the Norm Macdonald, like the setup being as close to the punch. Yeah. If you can do the setup and the punch being the same. Yeah. I was like, that's a good joke. And I was like, I think you might make the act, kid. But then she just started making, after that celebration of her coming up with a joke,
then it's
just everything was about pooping
the same joke. Yeah,
pooping her pants. Like, good news, I pooped in your pants. Bad news, it's a lot of poop. Like, yeah. So she doesn't really like locked on to why the first one was magic, but all right, I think that is a Daddio.
That seems like a reasonable place to end it.
And you got to go back and listen to the rap song. Because it was made for you.
I mean, I did. It was talking
all
about
of the words for balls, like so good.
I do love
made
words
for you.
balls.
It's the Daddio
Go back
Show.
and listen. I think you deserve it.
All right.